If you've ever believed that any old can you grab is guaranteed to be the cream of the crop, perk up your ears. You're in for a shucking revelation. Here are our canned corn picks from worst to best.
I love corn!
If white corn is a preferred morsel for your cooking needs, Kroger comes out of left field with sweet white corn in its canned collection. A badge on the label proclaims "Field to can same day" and no preservatives. Eye-catching qualities for anyone looking for top-tier freshness in their canned goods. The information on the Kroger website affirms that this whole kernel corn is also grown on and purchased from family-owned farms in Midwestern USA. A reassuring fact for shoppers who feel strongly about supporting family businesses. If there's one downfall to ranking this product, it's the absence of substantial customer reviews to speak for the quality. A listing on Fujicate shows a B- rating for Kroger's sweet white corn due to 1.5 teaspoons of sugar added to the can. So while you may be excited to see that the corn is sweet, it isn't a natural sweetness, which defeats the purpose of looking for sweet corn altogether. Such an oddly off-putting aspect, together with the lack of customer response, keeps this can deep in the weeds in our ranking. Whole Foods takes the quality of its in-house 365 label seriously, and its canned whole kernel sweet corn is no exception. This upscale grocer is known for comparatively high prices that deliver high quality. But a product as basic as corn off the cob is hardly a luxury item. For that matter, having options for staple foods like canned corn that don't break the bank is as much of a consideration as the contents of the can. A quick peek at the price shows around $2 per 15-ounce can, which isn't too far off what the other brands offer. That's a good sign, especially for such a simple staple. Being an in-store brand for a specialty chain, this can doesn't get the exposure of the other brands, severely hindering its ability to compete. Green Choice Now, a site that rates products based on processing, nutrition, food safety, and environment, gives 365 whole kernel sweet corn a rating of 95 out of 100. But in the big picture, a can without customer ratings is still something of a mystery as far as enjoyability and quality of flavor.
It's organic, man.
Tree hugger.
Corn cravers who also seek organic options when shopping for canned kernels can rest easy with Simple Truth on the shelf. The organic, super sweet whole kernel corn from this Kroger-only brand is an attractive option, with all the right words in all the right places all over the label. Announcements like organically grown and non-GMO are enough to make corn fans lose their leaves. There's even a non-BPA stamp on the front, letting you know that if you're going to trust the kernels, you can also relax about the can they come in. With so many checks on the list of a healthy corn choice, could it be possible that this is the most perfect canned corn ever created? Based on our research, it's hard to say. Finding only 2 reviews on the Kroger website makes this a difficult recommendation, even if both reviews are 5 stars. Because of Simple Truth's valiant efforts to provide a trustworthy product, we've given this can a place on the list. But the lack of visible hurrah from the buying public, a group that rates practically everything they consume, keeps it from rising any higher. In addition to Kroger becoming more welcoming to vegan eaters, the company also provides an impressive selection of house brand canned vegetables, with its sweet golden corn key among the line. Kroger does a decent job of providing variety among its shelved produce, with corn being one of the more familiar finds at prices that feel firmly competitive against the national names. Reviews for this Kroger can are impossible to come by. There are none on the whole wide internet. We did discover an A rating on Fujicate, a site informing consumers of food quality. The no salt added version was the can in question, and the score was based on low sodium, minimal processing, and the whole grain nature of the corn itself. Additionally, this is one that passes our taste test, which is 1 5-star review in a sea of emptiness. Still, for a combination of price, healthfulness, and flavor, you're looking at a solid choice to toss into your cart. Safeway may be a part of Albertsons now, but its Signature Select house brand has always strived for excellence, as is certainly the case for Signature Select whole kernel golden sweet corn. One 5-star online reviewer declares, "Prefer over name brand for taste and price." When stacking up your choices for canned corn among the shelves, there are lesser possibilities for you to grab, especially if you aren't quite sure what Signature Select means. On the other hand, well-versed shoppers are likely to find the name familiar and trustworthy. They may have even done their own 5-star comparisons to choose this canned corn over the superstar names. So why don't the numbers reflect the reputation of the brand? Almost 100 reviews averaging 4.7 stars on the Safeway corporate site isn't the worst we've seen, but it's also not quite enough to set the canned food world on fire. The price for this signature select can is above the house brands of other chains on the list, like Kroger and Walmart, which might make it a challenge for all but existing fans to reach for this option over others.
Anything new with corn?
Oh, yeah, corn.
Corn.
Oh, yeah, corn. You bet.
Corn. Yeah, absolutely.
Corn is always interesting.
Del Monte makes a showy presentation with its gold and white selection. The color contrast in these kernels give the appearance of field-fresh jewels, a sophisticated touch for a canned vegetable. Imagine having a shimmering selection of both pale yellow and buttery golden corn blending together in a dish to shine up your Thanksgiving spread. It may not be an aspect of holiday dining you've considered before now, but thanks to Del Monte, it's an option you can easily exercise. But how does such a mix taste? A total of 104 ratings on the company site comes in considerably lower than other Del Monte canned corn options, even with a 4.8-star average to rate it pretty high on the stock. Another 130 ratings and an equal 4.8-star average at Walmart reinforces the idea that this is a fine, fancy option to add to your canned corn collection. As far as being a superior choice among other labels in the lineup, if looks are your thing, grab a can to impress your guests. Despite some 21st century controversy that caused a boycott of its products, Goya remains a presence in the canned food aisle, as well as a familiar favorite with Latinx home cooks. The truth about Goya Foods is that the company's canned veggies are a passable option, if not a pick that's always visible to shoppers who are more familiar with brands whose long legacies and advertising budgets have made them the players to beat. Goya is also not equally represented in all grocery retailers, limiting exposure and availability. It's a tough husk to shuck when you can't even get shelf space, no matter how appealing your version of canned corn might be to shoppers who can find it. Influencer.com shows a healthy 4.69-star review average for a total of 837 reviews for Goya's canned corn. One of the 5-star raters asserts, "I find that the Goya golden corn is always sweet and is my go-to brand." Robust reviews similar to this are echoed by others, placing Goya slightly past the middle of the pack. Maybe this brand is packing a bit of plant power in its cans after all. Great value products from Walmart are generally prized for their low prices, if not for their comparable quality when standing can-to-can with national brands. When it comes to the chain's golden sweet whole kernel corn option, price may be a bigger attractor than the state of the kernels. There are known to be several canned foods you shouldn't buy from Walmart. And though canned corn may be attractive at less than half the cost of the bigger brands, what you get for your money may not be worth the savings. There are 1,093 reviews on the Walmart website, but the 4.3-star average is one of the lower rankings we've found. Several of the more critical reviews call out the dubious quality of great value canned corn as well. True, no canned corn comes out of the arena totally undented. In the case of great value, you may be better off spending extra on a more trustworthy cluster of kernels for your cooking needs. If price is your maximum concern when shopping for uncobbed corn, great value isn't the worst you can crack open. Just beware of what you're getting into.
Ho, ho, ho.
Green Giant.
Whole kernel sweet corn has been a staple in pantries since 1903, long before the company became a member of the General Mills food family. That trusted sense of brand familiarity lets you know what you're getting before you buy Green Giant products again, especially with the company's whole kernel sweet corn. The titan of canned and frozen produce may have lasted a long and hearty while in the industry, but has the Giant overstayed its welcome in the world of pantry goods? Not according to shoppers, it hasn't. Amazon displays a 4.7-star review average among a total of 1,111 reviews. A staggering amount for this dinner table staple. The 4-can multi-pack is a flagged bestseller on the site, signaling an easy climb to the top of the pile for a company that needs no help when it comes to rising to lofty heights, especially when landing a spot in this corny roundup. With Libby's Naturals whole kernel sweet corn, you get exactly what the label says, including a seal that promises no GMOs or preservatives. For health-minded cooks trying to serve their families the freshest and most wholesome food possible, this added alert on the front of the can offers an extra dash of reassurance that Libby's is a prime choice. Lower salt content means less worry about sodium intake, an often overlooked but very real concern when shopping for canned vegetables. A 4.6-star average among 529 ratings over at Amazon, added to a 4.5-star average among 1,283 reviews at Walmart, puts Libby's on the table in a major way. Reviewers rave about the taste, including a top reviewer who proclaims, "My son eats this corn for dessert." If Libby's can make magic like this happen, it's earned the third best on the list by a country mile. This legacy brand has been providing flavorful food for more than 130 years and still holds its own in the marketplace, which should make Del Monte a champion in the canned corn competition. But how does the fresh-cut description on the golden sweet whole kernel corn label distinguish this heat-and-serve option from the rest of the pack? Isn't all canned corn fresh-cut at some point in the process? The website description calls out that this corn is GMO-free, with special attention paid to picking and processing to make sure the ultimate in fantastic taste and texture makes it into the can. It's hard to argue with the voice of the corn lovers who've weighed in with their opinions. This incredible can currently has a 4.8-star average and a total of 5,490 ratings on the Del Monte site. That's a whole lot of love for a modest nibble that few people can tell you whether it's a vegetable or a grain. It's either, depending on harvesting time, according to USDA. The amount of consumer love for this uncanny canned corn gets it as close to the top of the heap as possible without hitting the peak. Who could have guessed Amazon would have the best-rated canned corn of all? The online shopping titan's home brand, Happy Belly, may not be flashy with its simple label and sometimes dented cans, but in the contest for customer satisfaction, this thoroughly basic contribution to the canned corn hierarchy has won hearts and mouths time and time again. 3 simple ingredients listed on the label: corn, water, and salt. Tell a straightforward tale of corn without complications. And the eye-catching price point of 99 cents may be the tipping point. A whole galaxy's worth of gleaming reviews shine up the sky over Happy Belly's digital cornfield, giving these kernels a 4.7-star average across a walloping 5,301 global ratings. Higher ratings praise the flavor and texture, like one Amazon customer who gushed, "If I didn't know any better, I would have thought it was straight off the cob." And naturally, it's the #1 bestseller in its category. Such a flourishing choice gets our vote for Best of the Bushel.